Hi, and welcome to the Balancing Act Dallas-Fort Worth edition. I'm Montel Williams. We're bringing you community stories and introducing you to businesses and people who are making a difference. So let's see who's making a difference right here in your neighborhood.
On this episode of The Balancing Act, a special show dedicated to a patient-centered medical research group who is creating relationships that go beyond the ordinary. Today on The Balancing Act.
Imagine you could be a catalyst for positive change in the world of rare diseases, chronic health conditions, maybe even mental health, simply by sharing your story. Dee Armstrong is the founder of Echo Project Management Group. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Hey, Montel. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what the impetus was for even starting the Echo Project Management Group, and what do you do?
I would love to.
Sure.
So let's go back to why I started Echo in the first place.
Okay.
I watched my Meemaw.
Meemaw, excuse me, hold on a second for you all at home. Meemaw is grandma. Good Southern girl right here.
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I watched her battle with Alzheimer's for years. I would go spend my summers taking care of her.
Wow.
I remember one summer she left at 1 o'clock in the morning. She packed her box and had her baby and her dishes, and away she went. I knew right then and there we had a problem.
Right.
That her medical care wasn't adequate to my standards. So I told my Meemaw that I was going to change healthcare one patient at a time, and she wasn't going to be just another number.
Right.
I also watched my father's brother, my Uncle Don, suffer with schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
There were times where his medication didn't work, and there was one time I can remember he actually chased me around the house with pots and pans.
Oh, my goodness.
Because he thought I was somebody else.
Right.
He also tried to bury stakes one day in the ground thinking that they were going to grow. So I knew then and there that, again, he wasn't being heard. His story wasn't being shared with his provider. And
there were so many other stories like that, right?
You can't imagine. There's so many people that need to get heard, that deserve to be heard. And they deserve to have more than that, those 5 seconds with that doctor in that room. So what the Echo Project Management Group does is you solicit participants who have similar kinds of stories, come in, tape them in a way, or explain it to me. It is a little confusing. So in the U.S., we work with big pharma. Any of your big name pharma, we probably work with them. In Spain, we work with a board of scientists that are actually developing devices that are going to be surgically implemented into your skeletal system. And you get on your phone, open up your app, and you can get your pain medication administered.
What?
How crazy is that?
That's crazy. That's the future of medicine.
Yeah, we've been working with them now for the past 7 years, and it's amazing where medicine's going. But here's what happens. So big pharma will say, hey, Dee, we have this treatment that no longer is being prescribed. We need to know why. So from there, I'll say, what are you looking for? They'll say, we need, oncologists, or we need patients, or even their caregivers. It's going to be this type of study. What's your expertise? And I'll say, well, listen, we have them in our panel, and here's what they need to get paid. If you want 60 minutes of their time, here's what they deserve to be paid.
Okay.
And then from there, we win the study. We win about 97% of our bids. So we win the study, we go out, we find these people. Now, here's how we find them. We work directly with support group directors, we work with foundations, and we also have a whole referring HCP panel that want to do nothing but refer their patients to us.
And patients that have stories that are worth telling so that other people don't know that they're on, right?
Absolutely. So we do programs with certain doctors to help their patients, and then they refer them to our market research studies.
And you know that sharing stories really help.
It's the only way. How are we going to change anything?
Sure.
Without knowing what you go through, what I go through, I don't know how to change it. I don't know how to prove it. I don't know how to do anything with it.
The thing that I want to make sure people at home understand is that if you participate with your group, you, the patient, get paid.
They get paid within 14 business days.
Wow.
We are one of the top paying and fastest paying research companies in the U.S.
And what kind of information do you collect from your patients?
What gets stored on our HIPAA compliant encrypted servers is all of their PII. Which we do not share or we do not sell. After 7 years, we completely destroy that study in its entirety. So, but we keep everything in-house. We don't sell anything. Like I said, nothing goes out of our hands. And nobody likes the marketing calls. Nobody likes the spam calls. So I wanted to make sure that we were very conscious of the security of our panel of people.
You know, your company is really unique in the fact that you also provide services not just to the public who are watching the stories, but you provide services to your own staff, right? Because, you know, they end up having relationships with people who unfortunately, you know, may not make it. So explain that whole process.
So we're very transparent. In the hiring process, we explain to people, listen, you need to have thick skin because you're going to lose people. They're going to expire. You're going to get close to them. They're going to treat you like family, just like I'd like you to treat them like family. So with that being said, we do have people that expire, and we offer therapy for the staff members so they know how to cope with that and how to handle it. Not to mention, it's a very fast-paced position. So I also wanted an outlet for them to express themselves and how they were feeling to an actual therapist.
But come on now, this is something really personal to you too, because you, as the founder of the company, experience this, right?
Absolutely, and I actually take part in our therapy program, and I'm proud to say that.
That's incredible, and you do so because you got close to one of your patients?
Yes, I actually had a close relationship with a gentleman named Floyd. He had NSCLC. We talked every Thursday for a year and a half. He was one of my first calls when I first opened this company. And one day, those calls stopped, and it really affected me. So I knew right then and there I had to do something. That it wasn't just about the patients, but it was also about the staff that handle the patients. Just because, you know, we're such family. You know, the people on our panel are not just another number for us. We actually want to talk to them, and we miss them sometimes.
The best way to understand what we're talking about here is listen to some of these testimonials from some of these patients that you work with. Incredible. Take a look at this.
Triple negative breast cancer is a very unusual cancer in that scientists do not know what feeds it, which makes it difficult to eradicate. I absolutely did not know anything was wrong. What brought me to the doctor in the first place was an infection in my breast, and I had a discharge. The doctor said it was just a milk duct infection. And she was right, because the cancer was detected in the other breast. So had I not gone to the doctor for that problem, I probably would not have known I had breast cancer for quite a while. I had missed my mammogram, and it was overdue. I had forgot about it, and when she rescheduled it, that's when everything happened. So when the doctor decided that he wanted me to do an ultrasound the same day, I still wasn't that unnerved. I was focusing on my appointment. But then he called me up to his office. And when I walked into his office, it was dark and it was lit only by his large monitors, and on the monitor was 2 breasts. And he turned to me and he said, pointing at this mass that was an obvious mass, that wasn't there last year. And it was then that I realized he was talking about my breast because I saw my name at the top. And I sort of heard everything he said after the word biopsy, because that's a scary word for me. So when I heard biopsy, I was trying to be calm. But I couldn't wait to get out of that room to get to the car because I lost it. And I was still trying to push that fear of breast cancer out of my head and trying to think positive. So the next day when we went to do the biopsy, they really didn't say a whole lot to me when they did it. It was a little painful. He explained the procedure. But it was the sound of his voice that made me realize that it was not going to be a good thing. And when they said, would you like us to call you with the results, or would you like it face to face? I thought to myself, if you're going to tell me I have breast cancer, I want it done face to face. So the next day when we went in, we walked in the office and everybody knew me, which freaked me out. And they were so kind, and they escorted us to a small room, and they shut the door. And when she sat down, she put her hand on my hand and she said, Mrs. Durr, you have breast cancer, and it's triple negative. And for a minute I thought, oh great, it's negative and it's triple, until she told me that that wasn't great. It was one of the worst kind, and that they didn't know what fed it, and that I'd have a hard road ahead of me. Sometimes doctors will say things that will go over your head because they're speaking like doctors always do. But my doctors have broke things down and drawn pictures. I even had a surgeon to draw the picture of what he was going to do on the sheet before I went into surgery. So I think that everybody needs someone like that. You have to remember that you're talking to an individual who, until they found out they had cancer, didn't want to know all those huge words and understand those big names for all the medications that they were going to get. And I surely I didn't appreciate the printout of all the different drugs and all the different side effects. I just wanted them to talk to me about it. And I think that as long as people understand that relationship between the survivor, the fighter, and her medical protocol staff, I think more women will survive breast cancer and will do better than they're doing right now.
So I woke up with a pain in my appendix one morning. It was on a Wednesday. I knew it wasn't quite right. So I called my doctor and immediately got in to see my doctor. She couldn't make a determination at that time. It was difficult for her to even give me an examination because it was too painful for her to touch. So she referred me out to get a CT scan. By the time I got in to see the doctor for the CT scan, a week had gone by. And at that point, I got the CT scan and I was called probably 3 hours after the scan, and the radiologist told me, you need to go to the emergency room right now. And I said, why? He said, well, your appendix is about to burst. Oh, well, how do you know? He says, well, it's 3 times the size of a normal appendix. After surgery, there was no indication that there was any problem. He said it was looked to be a little large, but he'll send it off to pathology just in case, just to check it out. A week later, he called and said that the results came back from the lab and that I was stage 2 appendiceal cancer. We were stunned. The first thing that went through my head was, well, I'm too healthy to be sick. I've spent 30 years in the military. No issues whatsoever, jumping on airplanes, airborne ranger, just hardcore. It was just devastating. So within the days following, I went through every emotion you can imagine. Confusion, denial, anger, sadness, alone, helpless. Thinking, what's going to happen? What's next? Who's going to take care of my family? When you're diagnosed with something, you always want to learn as much as you can about it. And I certainly did because I didn't know much about it. What I will tell you is that appendiceal cancer is extremely rare. I've been told that there are less than 4% of the population in the world that get appendiceal cancer. Life goes on. Melanie had to work, the kids had to go to school, and there were times when you're there, alone, in the dark, tubes out of your arms, tubes down your throat, being poked, being prodded, being disturbed, just miserable and alone. And I said, I'm not coming back here. There was no way that I could exist in that dark place. We can't do that. You have to be positive for yourself, for your family, for your own peace of mind. It's important.
Invasive ductal carcinoma is the most common form of breast cancer. It's very aggressive. And when at diagnosis, I was stage 2, which basically translates to, it was a 3.5 centimeter tumor. Because I had dense breast tissue, or very dense breast tissue, even after we knew the location of the tumor, we still couldn't feel it. It was a routine mammogram. I'd been getting one every year since I was 36 because of my dense breast tissue. I'd also been getting a 3D mammogram that whole time. This past year, I actually thought about not getting the 3D mammogram because I had changed health insurance. I was self-employed and I was going to have to pay $60 out of pocket, but I decided to go ahead and do it anyway. And they told me that the 3D mammogram, my choice to get the 3D, had saved my life. I decided then that I was not going to let this define me. I was not going to let it defeat me. I was going to let it teach me. And I think I've done a pretty good job of just getting out of its way and letting it be a teacher. I've learned so many things over this past year. I did not want to know any of the side effects or anything that was going to come up with chemo or anything. I wanted to just go into it blind, and if something came up, I'd worry about it then. Just because I didn't want to dream up anything while I was going through it. So I kind of did it backwards from a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't comfortable doing that, but it worked for me. And I did, I followed some people on Instagram, and I realized recently I'm having to unfollow some of them because of what I was talking about, where I've never really thought about cancer coming back. I'm cancer-free now, but this past week I started having some of those little doubts in the back of my mind, and some of it stems from people's stories that I'm reading and thinking, well, that could happen to me too. And so I'm just kind of having to take a step back and remember that taking it as it came really got me through a lot through this process. I don't want to live my life feeling like it might come back at any moment. I just want to take each day for what it is. I mean, it's a gift, and it's all we have anyway. So I don't want to worry about it coming back. I learned I did not like my chosen career anymore. And I've since decided that I'm going to do some writing and hopefully get into some things where I can help other people going through some of what I'm going through or what I've been through. I've learned that I'm a lot tougher than I'd ever given myself credit for. And I have learned how to lean on people, and that there are so many good people out there that want to help.
Wow, that must really make you feel good knowing that you're helping people share their stories, but you're helping the people who are sharing their stories too.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Wow.
It's full circle.
So how do you contact your participants? I know you have a pretty robust staff. Explain how the whole process works.
So we actually are all remote. We are nationwide spread so that we can hit every time zone. And when the pandemic hit, we were built for it. Okay. We were still able to help people, and it didn't affect anything. And so, my staff adapted very well, and we do a FaceTime call every Monday. We do a chit chat, we do a catch up on the weekend. What'd you do? What do you have going on? We also do all of our company parties over FaceTime as well.
Oh, wow.
And I do have to dote on one of my staff members.
Sure, please.
Her name is Brenna, and she's disabled.
Oh, my goodness.
She thought that the world didn't want her anymore. She thought she was just invisible. We gave her a shot, and she's my right-hand man now.
Wow.
She's the VP of my company, and I couldn't do it without her.
And she also would probably have, compassion for those that she's talking to.
Absolutely. You want to know how I met her?
Uh-huh.
In her support group. She runs a support group for AS people. We just hired our second disabled team member and also our very first veteran.
Oh, my goodness.
Because they also deserve a second chance. Some companies feel like they're throwaways, and I don't. I feel like they can make a difference as well, and we make a difference in their life as well.
The staff members reach out to other patients, get them to tell their stories so that you can share them with other people at home who may be living vicariously through them in a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And our Facebook page actually has inspirational memes on there every day that we post.
Wow.
We try to do everything that we can to make people understand just because you have a mental condition or you have a chronic condition, we still love you. We still appreciate you, and we still care for you. We're still going to advocate for you.
And you're not alone, for sure.
Not alone at all. There's so many people that we talk to and some people that we help. It's just It fills my heart what we do here.
Do you have any plans for the future? What's next?
We are growing exponentially. We now actually have troops on the ground, is what I like to say. We have an eco fleet of vans that we actually have out on the road. We send them to the health fairs here nationwide. We have an amazing booth set up where we sign people up right then and there on iPads. We give them a shirt, we give them some hand sanitizer, and we get them heard.
And this is all over the country, so anybody can participate.
Absolutely. And they can also, of course, go to our website and sign up that way too.
Sure, and if they wanted to do that, what's the website? Give us your stats.
It is echopmg.com.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show
Thank you,
today.
my
For
pleasure.
sure, absolutely. And of course, if you want more information, you can always go to our website, thebalancingact.com. Dallas, Texas is thriving. And like many big cities, a large part of the community experiences disproportionate poverty. Let's see how CitySquare, a nonprofit organization offering solutions for housing, food, health services, is using proven methods to address both the causes and effects of poverty.
Did you know that 60% of all Americans are one paycheck away from poverty? By addressing the key areas related to the persistence of poverty and a person's access to basic needs, CitySquare is making a difference and changing lives.
The mission of CitySquare is to fight both the causes and effects of poverty, and we do that by serving people, by advocating for them, and most importantly, by being their friend. CitySquare helps people who are battling economic insecurity, don't have access to affordable healthcare, access to affordable housing, or even access to food resources. And so we want to make sure that we provide that here at CitySquare.
CitySquare believes whether you are experiencing poverty, volunteering your time, or donating resources, everyone has a voice and a role in the fight against poverty.
Many assume that people are homeless because of their poor life choices. Oftentimes, many are just one crisis away, whether that be losing their job, experience a trauma, having medical issues or debt, which often causes individuals to have to choose between their health and housing expenses. There is domestic violence or even a divorce. And so really it's about the difference between our neighbors don't have a social support when those experiences happen to be able to deal with it that leads to them being homeless. Another misconception is about that people want to be homeless or they don't want help. And so it's really about neighbors have given up on the system and kind of lost hope. CitySquare's homeless outreach team really comes in and builds rapport with our neighbors to start bringing them hope back into their lives. We have a food pantry, we have health and wellness programs, we have affordable housing, and CitySquare really believes in the housing first model, and so it's housing is a right and not a reward. So the idea is to get people into housing and then we can start working on all of the things that they may have going on. We provide intensive case management on site, we provide life skills classes, even behavioral health counseling, and are really there with them walking through the journey so they can be successful.
When people are empowered with opportunity, fairness, and hope, incredible things can happen.
It feels great to be sober. Life is good. My worst days on this side is still better than my best days as a drug addict. I know that had I not encountered CitySquare, my life would have been over a long time ago. Now my goal in life is to go back in to stir up the hope in other men that there's a possibility. There is a way out. There is hope. And that's what CitySquare has done for me. It gave me hope again.
I try to get here at least once a month to go to the food pantry. Being homeless, no job, it's hard to find nutrition. Very friendly people, very helpful. CitySquare is an awesome organization.
We are a community. We serve alongside one another. We are friends with our neighbors, and we walk with them through life's most challenging times, especially at times where they don't know what to do or where to turn. We're here for them. We believe that everyone has a role in the fight against poverty, and we are so thankful to our community of supporters, especially our donors, our volunteers, and our corporate sponsors for joining us in the fight against poverty.
Kimberly-Clark is a 151-year-old consumer products company with our global headquarters based right here in Dallas, Texas. Our work is driven by our purpose, which is to provide better care for a better world. As an employee, that means that we strive to improve the lives of our consumers, but also strengthen the communities where we live and work. We do that in a variety of different ways, either through partnerships with nonprofits, through global volunteerism, or through product donations, all with the focus to help those in need.
Poverty rarely attacks people in just one way. By fighting back with comprehensive services and advocating for equal access to housing, food, and health, CitySquare is making a difference in Dallas.
We are here for the long haul, for however long our neighbors need us to be. But we hope that there's a future where CitySquare will no longer be needed because we would have already solved poverty.
To learn more about CitySquare, visit the website at citysquare.org or see this segment again on thebalancingact.com.
Thanks so much for joining us on this local edition of The Balancing Act. We'll see you next time.